How's it going, everybody? Welcome once again to the end of Black Hat Network Debrief. I am Grifter.
And I am Bart.
All day. So who are we? My actual name is Neil Weiler. My parents don't, in fact, hate me. I picked Grifter myself. 15 years of Black Hat. This is probably 50-something shows all over the world, but 15 years running the network at Black Hat. And so by day, I do threat hunting and incident response for RSA. I'm also on the Black Hat CFP review board and the Black Hat training review board. I'm awesome. No, I don't sleep a lot. I'm the department lead at DEF CON for contests, villages, events, parties, and the demo labs, and an 801 Labs board member. That's our hacker space in Salt Lake City.
So we've been doing this a few years, so I'll fly through this. You guys should all know us by now. If you don't, well...
Oh, you're not
great.
That guy. He's being that guy. You guys...
No, know us because I'm loud.
I need no introduction.
So I've been doing Black Hat about 10 years now. By day, I'm a senior system engineer with Red Sky Solutions based out of Utah. I am also on the Black Hat training review board, a DEF CON goon, and also 801 Labs board member. Boring stuff. Done.
All right. So people often say, you know, what's going on the NOC? What is the NOC team made up of? Who's in there? So 2 idiots. That's us. And we also have 21 industry professionals. So these folks are from all different states around the U.S., different countries as well. We have people who are from VP levels, directors, and then just, you know, your standard engineers or analysts, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, but it's all network engineers or security engineers, basically.
My turn.
Your turn.
All right, let's see how many phones go up real quick.
Yeah, click.
I tried to make this as big as possible because that's what happens every year. So the architecture this year changed a little bit. There's some changes you might notice if you remember last year what we did. I'll kind of run through a quick understanding here for everybody to kind of lay it out. So Palo Alto is our new firewall core vendor. They're providing all the core firewalling.
Amazing. Firewall-less.
With our 2 CenturyLink circuits, we have 2 gigs of bandwidth for you guys, and you chew it all up. Behind that, we've got the wireless. If you noticed this year, if you were in any trainings, there wasn't as many wired rooms, and there were some changes to how we did all that with the wireless. There was a new infrastructure that we designed, and it was pretty rock solid. I'd love to hear what anybody else has to say and your experiences with it. But basically, we did ruckus. We didn't do individual APs in every room like we have in the past for trainings and stuff like that. What we did was we gave you 2 options, a captive portal or 8021X, that you could get put onto the VLAN for your training room. For briefings, everybody hit the BH trainings and everybody got RGNets does a really good... Ooh,
puberty. Oh,
excuse me.
That just happened. Congratulations.
It's on video, too. So RGNets does a really good job of basically micro-segmentation for everybody in there. We get VLANs for each user until that's kind of overrun. There are a couple in each VLAN, but everybody gets segmented. You're protected as much as possible. That's our job here, is to keep you guys protected as well as keep the network available, because you guys are paying a lot of money to come, take the trainings, see the briefings, etc. We don't want to be the reason that the demo gods bring the ban hammer down on anybody, so we do as much as possible to keep you secure, but also the network fully available. So moving on here, we've got RSA NetWitness doing all of our analytics basically for the show. They give us very good intelligence, a lot of data, full packet captures, and I'll get into that a little bit because some people get scared. We've got so many tools now at this point for visibility and other stuff like that. I'm sure you've walked into the NOC and seen OIP and some other open source tools. There was some issues in the past using span ports on the switches that really caused some headaches for us. We didn't get full visibility, to drop packets, your span ports just aren't prioritized, and you wouldn't want them to be. So we reached out to Gigamon, and they provided us an HC2 full tap to provide the visibility to all the tools that we need to see that.
That was helped along as well by the relationship with RSA. So when we brought RSA Net Witness in last year, that was again adding additional load onto how many spam ports we were using, and honestly, we just tipped the gear over that we had previously. It could not handle the load that we were throwing at it by trying to put a tool after tool after tool into it, and since we had brought RSA in, and RSA has a relationship with Gigamon, they were like, we know a guy. And we're like, please make an introduction.
So that's the main idea of the core infrastructure. There's a few things that changed. And like I said, if you go back and look at other slides, you'll see what's changed. And it's kind of fun to get input from you guys as well. If there's something that somebody says, hey, I would do it this way, I'd love to hear your opinion and kind of see where that goes. But there's some other vendors as well that have helped us out this year that aren't on this diagram, and we'll get to that here in a minute.
Yeah,
I'm the button pusher.
Yeah, you are. Get over there. Is there like the logo slide? Because then we can. Did you put a?
Yes, but we put it after these ones.
Gosh, we're the worst. So this is our mess. So you see all that stuff in architecture. That looks pretty. It's all drawn out. Thanks, Pope. Thanks, Steve from Fink for designing and architecting that. But getting all that stuff together means that we end up in the MDF downstairs, which is just the closet. We don't put all the gear, like we'd have a rack's worth or a rack and a half's worth of gear sitting in the NOC with us, and we don't want to listen to it, and it's already warm enough in there with all the projectors and stuff. But it's the weirdest thing. Like, you go down an elevator and then you come outside, like literally outside. You go outside, you're sweaty, it's gross, and there's like a door off on the side that's all janky. And you open it, and this is what's behind it.
You're giving them hints to where it's at.
I don't care. That's fine. They can have hints to where it's at. I'm totally fine with that.
I'm not.
It's full disclosure. We're in full disclosure here. But so we have all the gear set up in there. So we don't have to sit next to it. And as you can see, in some cases we set it on the floor. We got dollies to set the RSA gear on this year. Last year we had a luggage cart. So we do it right. Go to the next one. This is the theater that goes on upstairs. So this is what the NOC looked like. How many people stopped by the NOC this year? So cool. If you hadn't, there you go. Basically, a few years ago, UBM, the company that owns Black Hat, came to us and said, hey, we'd like to show people what it is that you're doing behind closed doors. Our initial response to that was no, in part because we didn't want people coming through our space or parading through, but also because we don't often behave ourselves, and so we didn't want that on display either. But they persisted, and we said, okay, we'll do it, but you're going to have to build like a wall between us and them. And so they did literally that. And that's the plexiglass curtain. It looks nice, but we essentially were like, we're still going to play our music, and we're still going to have the lights down, and we're just going to hang out and do all that kind of stuff. So that's what we do. And we got some nice Black Hat branding shining up on the wall. But overall, that's what it looked like anyway, behind closed doors. We would just hang out and in the dark listening to music and sitting behind screens. So you just get to see what it is that we're doing in there. Sometimes we have unexpected additions, I guess. Oh, that's Lyle. If you guys did go into the NOC, that's Lyle. He's our mascot. We also have another mascot, Helga. She was the inflatable sheep that was up on the speaker in the back.
Don't laugh.
Yeah, why are you laughing?
Funny.
We love Helga. And so that there is the Wi-Fi cactus. So hashtag Wi-Fi cactus. Like, for real, you can search on that. So the Wi-Fi cactus is a project that our buddy Mike, a.k.a. Dark Matter, did, where that is a stack of 25 Wi-Fi Pineapple Tetras, like all linked together through an Intel NOC on the top, and custom versions of Kismet and other shenanigans. And essentially, it's 50 radios simultaneously listening at once. So we're all sterile. No, I'm just kidding. It's not transmitting, just listening. So we're fine.
All right, so here it is. We probably should have put that a little earlier.
That's all right. We were in a rush. We build this thing literally moments before because we try to give you guys like the freshest information that we can in it. So yeah, it has nothing to do with procrastination.
Nothing. So here's the extended team. We've got CenturyLink, like I said, providing our bandwidth, RSA with NetWitness Suite providing their intelligence, Gigamon giving us visibility through tapping and the capabilities that they have there, Ruckus providing wireless. That includes Brocade deploying switches. We've got a whole bunch of Bronads, that's what we're calling them this week, out here helping us do stuff there. Palo Alto, like I said, a new partner that's done a really good job as well. And then one of the final additions here, this was kind of a last minute, and you might have gotten nervous walking around, but we got Pony Express involved this year to deploy some sensors out and around the venue so that we can see exactly what's going on with all of these rogue APs and stuff like that you guys try and throw down.
So we're going through these slides really fast because we're going to want you guys to ask us more questions about why did you deploy it that way, or hey, can you guys think about doing this in the future? But I will say, CenturyLink-wise, we get 2 1 gig circuits, one to Sunnyvale, one to Denver, and we never hit the cap on that before until this year. This year, Saturday morning training, when training kicked off, things got pretty saturated. There was quite a bit of traffic. But then Monday morning, obviously training, the numbers like double. Something with thousands of people all getting on and all downloading VMs and patching their machines and stuff like that all in the morning. And so we did like hit the bandwidth cap on that. It was like saturated for the first couple hours of Monday morning. So we'll look into getting more bandwidth for your Windows updates.
Then we got all the DMCA takedowns,
yeah.
Game of Thrones.
There's something else too on the RSA side. So RSA does provide the operational intelligence with NetWitness, but this year they also provide us with their identity and access management stuff. And part of the reason that happened was, again, we're up here for full disclosure, is because we had some changes made to the network last year that were outside of our control, where, it was done with the best intentions, but it ended up causing what was the longest outage that we've ever had at Black Hat, which was a 4-hour outage one morning in the training. So if you were unfortunately in one of those classes last year, you may have experienced that. So none of that this year, because we were able to lock everything down, know exactly who was going in, give them the permissions and access that they needed without having it come back and bite us in the butt.
You should show them that because we don't have a slide.
So just interesting stuff. So this is one thing that we like. So stuff goes on. We find things. People throw USB drives in the classrooms and things like that. And somebody, one of our guys, came and brought us this, which
I just realized nobody's going to be able to see that.
You can't see it. I'll pass it around. Just make sure we get it back. No, I don't. It's just a little rogue AP, essentially. A little Wi-Fi sensor, and it's a 3D printed battery case, and it was sitting in a planter outside. And so
rogue AP.
Yeah, so we find
we bumped
things.
It up and brought 25 Tetras into the NOC.
Yeah, exactly. We were like, that's not a knife. So we get free hardware, yay for us. Our guys are going to take it back. We're going to dump the firmware off, and maybe we'll learn something cool. We'll let you guys know what we see.
So another kind of hidden partner, I would say, not hidden in any sense of what our use was, but somebody else that's been helping us here is Cisco, again, with the RSA relationship. They provided some their threat grid feed, as well as we used their umbrella DNS service. So we've had visibility into DNS in ways in the past. However, this was much, much more in depth. So the main thing, the funny thing is that we don't block anything. If you weren't aware of that, we don't block anything outbound. We don't want to be the reason that we cause a problem in the outages and stuff like that in a training room because they're trying to reach a malware site. Well, any other network, you'd say, kill it, it's gone, I don't want that on my network. So one of the biggest reasons that we got this, we're not blocking DNS requests. They're very capable to do that, but I like stats and seeing where people are going.
He's a sports so he really likes stats.
So these are top categories for DNS. Malware actually raised up to number 3. It fell back down and settled in. It looks like number 7. Those, again, anywhere else would be blocked. We saw some crazy numbers. I can explain all this. There's the top categories, but we've got some cool stats from them too. So over 300,000 queries were observed to domains known to be malicious or host malware. Again, these are...
What? You're our people. You really are. You really are.
This is legit. Somebody would scream. Any other business would scream. So known malicious or host malware, 300,000 queries, 12,000 were dynamically generated domains, and we had 7,800 newly seen domains they had never seen from us. So again, a lot of those get stood up for training, and there's different stuff like that. But again, you would freak out anywhere else. So 6,800 domains were queried that had prior communication known for malicious samples. So they were actually pulling down samples. So this is really cool traffic analysis that it gives us just another capability and visibility into everything that's going on. Much thanks to them and the capabilities that they provide.
We just like showing you guys stuff and sessions
with a Z.
With a Z, because we're leads. So we're basically we're looking at, I can't even read that over there. I'm going to have to go behind the podium here. Can you guys read that? I can't read it at an angle. It's very small. So what you can see there essentially is the top websites or the top things that like we're transferring. There is number 1, Windows Update. Number 2, Windows Update. Number 3, that's something at Microsoft, could be Windows Update. Then 4 is Kali Linux. And 5, Windows Update. So, yeah. I mean,
this literally happens every single year.
What's that? Yeah, the next one's iTunes.
So, legitimately, we've looked at ways to solve this. We tell everybody to patch their systems, and if I had to guess, this isn't you guys bringing your work system and patching it, although I know that's happening as well, and you guys are crazy for doing that on this network. Most of that is like
just
VMs.
24 hours earlier. That's all.
Most of that's going to be training VMs that plug in, and you need to update it, and you're attacking that, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, that one's Windows Update with a 3. No, I'm just kidding. That's not.
So we're looking into some solutions around this. Kali obviously gets downloaded pretty hard, updated in every single training room, and then of course the offset guys are here giving the dojo. So there's tons of stuff that happens across Microsoft, Kali Dojo, all your apt-get, your Ubuntu updates and stuff like that. We've looked at some options here, and so keep your ears peeled next year and see if we've solved this yet. But you guys are crazy.
Seriously. It's insane. I'm glad you're patching. I really am.
On site.
But yeah, we'll just blame it on the expo hall. So these are the top 10 protocols. We won't spend too much time on this. Obviously, it's like the thing that makes me have a sad is that there's more DNS traffic than SSL.
You guys have done better in the past. You've done better. We expect better.
Yeah, we expect better. However, like the actual genuine amount of encrypted traffic was about 50%, which is, I think, down 5% from last year. So
ish.
Yeah, ish. But the expo hall grew, so
encrypt,
we'll blame it on them.
And then wait,
encrypt,
because I'm telling you to encrypt and use VPNs.
Yes, use VPNs, like this guy. So this is somebody authenticating to their free VPN, and the password is in the clear, and all the info is just there, and then it responds back like, "Hey, got your password. Here it is in case you forgot." And now we'll start the session. So it's like.
But then they encrypt your data, so it's okay. So let's take this back a step and say encrypt your traffic, but maybe test it at home.
Yeah, it's like 2 seconds to check.
This is awesome stuff that we get. This is where we get to nerd out and find all the cool stuff. We've talked about some crazy things that have happened in the past, but this is especially funny.
Matt from RSA, when he found it, he was like, "Oh man!" He's like, "Come here." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Look at this. What's wrong with this?" And I was like, "What? What?" And he's like, "It's all in the clear. It's all in the clear. Everything else is fine, but it's just this tiny piece right here."
Just your password.
Yeah. So jumping ahead. So we did see, so this as well, new version of Emotet. The reason we called this out essentially was, so the guys at RSA were doing some hunting. They were looking at traffic that was going direct to IPs. They saw something of interest. They said, okay, well, that's a 404, but it looks like the amount of data that's being returned is different each time. Normally a 404 page would be static. You know, you'd expect to see the same thing repeated. We only put 2 pictures up there, but we have like multiple times. Like it changes every time. So clearly that was of interest. So then they dug in further and said, well, what are the IPs that are associated with this particular connection and everything? And looking at it, it was in fact the C2 servers for this. So what kind of made us go cool was that this particular version came out on Tuesday. We saw it Wednesday. So
Hack source.
yeah. Not 0 day, but 1 day.
Hashtag 1 day.
Oh, and this. So if any of you were here last year, there was a friend spammed the network with a bunch of traffic, like 1.5 gigs in like a second.
But it was all ICMP.
Yeah, all ICMP. That said I heart grifter. And then this year from the same class, that guy's not even here, but Justin Searle's class, they sent this grifter phoning home via Searle.
You know, you're just
relay.
asking to keep getting that now.
It's if you do it twice, it's tradition. What's that?
3 times is the way you've always done it?
Yeah, that's right. That'll be once it's done 3 times. It's like that. That's always every year that's happened. These are all our stats that we got from Pony. So, I mean, I can basically read the slide to you. Some of the stuff is, we're looking at 500,000 unique wireless Macs. So, a handful, and 65,000 unique Bluetooth Macs. So, quite a bit wandering around out there. Plenty of access points. We'll show you what that looks like in a shiny, shiny picture here in a moment. But also, a lot of devices that were moving between what would have been the trusted Black Hat wireless and then going to the open wireless and back and forth. And I know that that is basically something that companies deal with all the time as well. I mean, you have, like, you're like, oh, we're going to lock this network down, and you lock it down, and then they go and log onto a crap network, get a bunch of malware, and then immediately log back onto the corporate network, and you're like, beacon, 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 and you're like, come on, man, you're disgusting. And so that's like, I mean, that's a real world thing that we see even here, And again, we tell people how they should behave with their machines and stuff, and we try to coach them on how security should be done for users. But ourselves as professionals, we end up doing the same thing. I will give an example of something like this. In 2 cases, like we have. This is a lot of full disclosure. Should I talk about? I'm not going to talk directly about the company. But, so we use third-party individuals here sometimes. We partner with different groups and stuff. And we did have somebody who came onto the network from a third party to do some things that as soon as they hooked up their laptop to the network, it was already beaconing. So they came pre-owned, but they came to Black Hat, and that obviously is concerning for us because we don't want them bringing things onto the network that we're trying to avoid happening in the first place. So it was like, nah, we took care of it before we got there. So like, you guys can do your Windows updates, but they bring malware before they ever get out here. So we let them know, we're like, get it off the network. And so now we're actually going to make a change next year so that any third party who connects to any system or network that is one of trust within the Black Hat network will have to be an imaged machine that we get that is like a flat configuration. We know exactly what's on it. That can connect to those trusted resources. If they want to browse the internet, they'll have to do that on their personal machine on a separate VLAN, like somewhere else. I think, what did we call the SSID when we gave it back to him? Was it banished? I think it was banished.
Exiled. For trolls.
Yeah, if you haven't noticed. 3 karma attacks. I mean, most of this was, basically training classes. We could see all kinds of stuff, but Mostly the things that we were interested in were, pineapples. Were we looking for?
We were very interested.
We were very interested in pineapples. And then things like this. So Pony was helping us, find stuff like that, and that was great. It was awesome to be able to say, we're seeing some rogue devices. They have X number of clients connected to them currently. We're going to go find them. So this is a slide that a screen cap that Pony Express gave us, and I was looking at it in the NOC when they initially brought it up, and it was moving, and I was like, it looks like jellyfish. I don't know what it does.
You think it's just shiny.
I was pretty. I was like, man, that's super cool.
So this is a map basically that Pony Express provides with we can see basically the SSIDs as well as the clients that are associated in each little bubble. And then we can see all the clients that are around that either are beaconing or not connected or whatever the case may be. So this is helpful to see, again, when somebody's going directly from the open MGM Wi-Fi over to the NOC network or the trusted Black Hat network. And again, we want to be careful of that kind of thing, especially the NOC network for good reasons. But it's a great visualization, a great tool that was very helpful to us this year, and we certainly plan to have them back. So you should take a look at the jellyfish map when you look at Pony.
So shiny. We're going to make that the actual name for this. We'll just keep saying jellyfish
map from now on.
So this, we're not in the shame game or anything like that, so we're not going to call out the organization or individuals who we saw this on, but I'm going to share a story with you guys about arrogance. Yay! Story time with Grifter. It's probably about a year ago, I went to a conference where there was a session that was Q&A with hackers, or this wasn't necessarily a completely security-focused conference. So then they had these folks in there that was yeah, come in and do this Q&A with hackers. And so I'm like, well, I gotta go to that, And I go in and I sit in the back, and it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. The folks who were running it were basically telling everybody in the room how elite they are and how they could hack them immediately, and that they teach kids how to do this stuff, and that they'll put any one of their kids up against anyone in the room, and they're going to be a better hacker, and they're doing all this boom, boom, boom. It was I've never witnessed anything like this, and I've been in the hacker scene since I was 11. So I was like, wow. And it was all about breaking things and whatever, and I eventually at the end I called them out on it and said well, what are you doing to make things better? Because you're talking an awful lot about how you guys can break stuff, but what do you do to deliver to people when you do these things the knowledge to make it right? And they were like, oh, well, that's not our problem. Red team for life or whatever. And so I'm like, okay. And he was like, I guarantee I'll put any one of these kids up against you, and they'll hack you.
Just wait, this is getting real.
Yeah, and I was like, well, you don't know me at all. And he was like, it doesn't matter, I guarantee it. I was like, all right, whatever, man. So I let it go. I go out in the hallway. Eventually, this session ends. I'm out there talking to people who turned around and noticed who I was. They come out. They're like, dude, what's up? How's it going? Oh, my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And then he comes out, and they're like, oh, hey, let me introduce you to Grifter. And the dude's face, turns white. And he's like, oh, okay, maybe you can hack. And so here's where the arrogance comes in on that. This organization, there are people from that organization here at Black Hat. How do we know that? Because they're passing everything they do in the clear on the network, including all of the flags for the CTF that they host. We're the winners! So, just even if you think you're, the big fish, take a step back. You never know who else is in the room. Humble yourself. That's one of my favorite things about coming to Black Hat is every time I've come to Black Hat, I walk away feeling stupid. And that's the correct way to be. You're like, I went upstairs and bought 6 books like earlier because I was like, gotta figure out what that was, gotta figure out what that was, gotta figure out what that was.
He didn't tell you they're all basic.
Yeah, they're all
legit.
Intro. No, they are
Legit.
actually from my neighbor. But it was like every time I go to Black Hat, I come back thinking, here are the things that I need to focus on. These are the technologies that these guys were talking about where maybe I walked away thinking I don't know enough about that. And that is hopefully what people take away from these conferences, not what an uber badass they are. We had a grand chuckle. All right, so that's it. So that's the last story there or whatever.
Keep the troll up there.
I will keep the troll up because I like that. Trolly.
So this is the best part because I love to hear what you guys have to say actually and want your opinions and, well.
We got plenty of time for questions, so you better have them. Usually you guys fill up this whole section, so we'll just turn it loose to the crowd. If you have a question, there's microphones over here. If not, if you're really like, if you're an introvert and you're not comfortable doing that, and you can just yell something out and we'll repeat it, so. Say that again?
It's not upstairs, it's not downstairs.
It's a, no, it is out.
No, it's good.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Actually, yeah, I mean, I don't know. What can we say about Mandalay's infrastructure? Good. What? It is freezing cold. Heather's up here from Ruckus, and she's wearing a hoodie. One, because she's a hacker. So that's how we identify her. And 2, because it's cold. But yeah, more?
Go ahead.
I'm just curious if the Pony Express could detect broadpone attacks, or if you tried that, because there was a talk here on it, and if anyone tried it.
Who went in there? Who went to the broadpone?
They've not yet.
Okay.
But Kismet is about to.
So,
Come see it at DEF CON.
so that's the guy who created, yeah. So this is the...
That's the guy with the 25 Tetras in the knock,
yeah.
so don't listen to
That's
him.
the guy who created the Wi-Fi cactus, so he'll be doing actually a demo lab at DEF CON on the Wi-Fi cactus. But so what was it? Kismet will?
Kismet, yeah, we submitted on GitHub last night, and so we're going to be running bleeding edge.
There you go. So they submitted on GitHub last night.
They got way more development resources, so they'll probably have it up by Friday.
So there you go. All right.
I love you guys.
I love you too.
Did someone at some Black Hat manage to pawn a server from the NOC?
Absolutely not.
No, I mean, we pwn our own servers constantly. Like, we're just like, oops. But we usually fix it right.
So that's the entire point of us being here.
Yeah, is to keep that from happening. Actually,
stop that.
That is funny because somebody said that they went, oh, Pope, you went into a training class, and somebody was like hyper convinced that 3 years ago a nation state had attacked the Black Hat NOC and had gained access to the NOC. And I'm like, well, what would they learn? Like,
there's a bunch of crazy people at Black Hat.
Yeah, those guys are weird. They look at weird stuff. Yeah, it's like you already know we're weird. There's a gorilla and an inflatable sheep in there. It's all out there. So no, we haven't had any large incidents. Certainly not nation state. And like I said, even if they were to be able to gain access to the NOC for some reason, they might be able to change the speed our displays rotate or something. It's not that exciting. I'm trying to think. Most of the stuff that we deal with genuinely is just random things. Someone said, what has changed in the last 15 years since you started doing it? And honestly, a lot of the attack vectors or annoyances are the same. One, because they still work in a lot of cases, but also I think it's just we have a lot of people who are continually coming into the industry and they want to try things too. And so they go to the same classes or they do something and then they come do it on our network. So.
Hang on just a second.
Spinning off of that, have you guys noticed a change in the pattern of the type of devices that you see joining into the network? Any IoT or even more vulnerable type devices that there's been a number of talks here about?
So we've definitely seen IoT devices. There's training courses all over that. As far as on our network, there's nothing. I mean, unpatched Android systems and stuff like that, which are terrible. But there's actually a good story about that. But anyways, there are definitely more. I wouldn't say any more insecure than there have been in the past. We always have unpatched systems and people that just, it's just different ones.
I mean, the thing is, well, I guess it's mostly, most of the stuff that we see that is insecure or are old versions of iOS or Android, like people with old stuff on their phones, applications that are not developed correctly, and so, you know, where authentication may be good, the stream itself is in the clear. If you were at the RSA conference back in February, there was a couple of applications that we saw where there were webcams that the authentication piece was encrypted, but the stream of video from the webcam itself from somebody's house was in the clear. So we could see somebody's living room and the dog was walking around and stuff like that. And it's just like, so we see things like that, people who write crap apps, but I haven't seen anybody's toaster or fridge on the network yet. Yeah, at DEF CON you will, because this is the IoT Village.
Go ahead. APs with wings? Oh, the drones. Actually, yes, there was 10, I believe, that we go back to the pony slide.
How did I miss that? Where are they? Oh, yep, 10. 10 aerial drone access points.
No,
I didn't personally
see any drones.
But to be fair, I mean, it could have been in the expo hall. Who knows? It might have been somebody's demo or something like that. But yeah, I didn't see any flying down the hall, or we would have caught it and we'd have free hardware. So, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So. Conventional wisdom is still out there that you're crazy if you use the Black Hat network. In fact, I just saw a news item last night by some respected security researcher that said that very thing: don't use Wi-Fi at Black Hat. You guys would probably disagree. I personally disagree. I didn't have any problem with it. I don't think I was hacked, but I don't really know yet.
If they're good enough, you never will.
That's right. But what would you say in general about the security of the network?
Go ahead.
I would tell people that it's secure. I mean, obviously, I'm telling you it's secure. That's my job, to design a secure network. However, I would also tell you to take precautions. There are certainly things that you should do on your own. If you have no reason to be on the Wi-Fi, you probably shouldn't hang out on the Black Hat Wi-Fi. You're correct.
Yeah.
If you need to connect to the Wi-Fi and do something, I would assure you.
Easy, bro.
Is it on? I would assure you that you will be safe on the network. Yes, we.
Oh my gosh, you did not.
I would not assure you.
Oh, someone tweet that shit right now. At Stumper says, I assure you you're safe.
Shut up, I'm trying to talk.
Yeah, let's just move on from that.
I would tell you you would be safe in our perspective, but again, somebody that brings an unpatched Android 4.0, I can't help you there. So,
well, yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that we tell people turn off Wi-Fi and turn off Bluetooth on your mobile devices and stuff like that, and that's it's mostly not because of you guys, but because providers are so crap about pushing out updates and things like that. So even if an update exists, then you might not see it for months. You don't know when you're actually going to end up getting it. So it's definitely. It's definitely a concern in that regard, but I have personally, I've never used a burner phone here. I've never used a burner laptop, or that's not true. I have brought a burner laptop, but that was specifically for some dark web stuff that I was doing. So no, that's not. I'm being fun. That's for real. I'm getting on there with nothing. But it wasn't because I was connecting to the Black Hat network. But 15 years coming to Black Hat, shows all around the world, and I've never had a problem with my phone, and if they're good enough, I'll never know. So.
Okay. Are you looking for people to join the NOC on 2018?
All of you.
Yes. Let's do this together.
So we certainly have a process. We've got 21 guys that we have already. We kind of give priority to some of those guys that come back, but certainly come up and give me your contact info, and we have a running list. I can't promise you anything, but absolutely, we're always looking for smart people.
Yeah, we are.
I just promised that he'd be safe on the network, so God only knows what can happen.
That's right. Did you say, does the Mandalay Bay something?
The cell phone repeaters, have we looked into them? In what sense have we looked into them? That could go a million different ways.
No, Mandalay Bay. See, that's the thing. People are always ask us, like, well, how far do you extend the security of the network? Are you involved with Mandalay on certain things? Like, if they're like, this is a casino. Like, if there's one thing casinos are good at, security. You know, there's a room somewhere where there's no cameras, but you'll only see it if they're gonna kneecap you. Like, the rest of this place is both physically and from a network standpoint, they have a team of absolute badasses. And we communicate with them daily. They let us know if there's something that looks interesting. We let them know if we see something that's interesting. There's a lot of communication that goes on there. And they're also talking to all the other properties around Las Vegas. So, you know, Caesars and
DEF CON.
Like yeah, DEF CON. When this kicks off, we're putting tens of thousands of hackers all up and down the Las Vegas Strip. So they're constantly sharing intelligence between one another and with us. We don't need to touch their stuff. They're good enough without us.
I wouldn't say an official debrief.
Yeah, not
we
an
most
official
certainly
debrief,
talk about.
But we
things
talk to
as
the guys. Like, yeah, we don't sit in a room and point at a whiteboard or anything. But we.
Whose fault?
What's that? Look, I'm in Vegas long enough. I'm not sticking around. Like, it's like we're gonna get off this stage and we're gonna go to DEF CON. So
we got to tear down first.
Yeah, we're gonna tear down. So send that last email. Where are we at? Oh, we still have a few minutes.
You guys got 17 minutes.
Sit down, Mush. Sorry, that's our buddy. Say again. No, absolutely not. The question was, do I connect to the DEF CON secure network? No. No, no, no. I tell people, I'm going off the grid. I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. And then I disappear. I'm not getting on that network. Good night. Because the thing is, I'm not this guy over here. I know that there are a lot of people who are better at this than I am. And I don't need to be a case study for that individual. So I'm good.
He uses a VPN everywhere he goes. So
I do. I do use a VPN everywhere I go. And I use, and the authentication's in the clear. All the traffic at my house, everything goes out encrypted. Like, I don't even want my ISP looking at anything. I'm like, now that they're going to sell it too, I'm like, you're making no money off me. You get enough. So, what else? Anything?
Just standing down. All right. We good?
Anyone? Last chance. If you come up and ask us a question after, I'm going to just yell at you. You had your chance. Oh. What was it?
Yes. So the question was, and there's time, so I'll tell it really quick. There's a question if we had any other funny stories. Well, I guess kind of funny. I'm sorry for the one individual that this is going to be about, but so there was a Samsung device that was owned on the network, and we saw data exfilled off of that phone. So we literally, for their sake, disconnected everything from the network. They cannot connect to our network. They can connect to the network, but they cannot get anywhere. No data can be exfilled, nothing like that. If they try to go to any web page, they got a splash page that said, come visit us in the NOC. So, yes, there are stories. There are tons of
we
things
try.
like that. I mean, I can't do anything for you once it was exfilled, but I can certainly stop the exfill and tell you to come over here and talk to us, and we'll explain what happened, and you should change your credit card and passwords. But yes, there are absolutely other funny stories like that. We could go on for days, but that was one this year. So there's some context around that. I knew somebody else was yelling too. Where was it?
He said, "What was your favorite part of the conference?" Or "What's our favorite part?" Honestly, you guys. Like, we like hanging out. Like, we get to see everybody, our friends that we only see a couple of times a year if we're lucky. Like I said, I mentioned I'm the department lead over contests and events and stuff over at DEF CON, and our motto is not one talk, not even once, because you can watch the talks later. like what really the value that we get out of this is talking to our peers and being able to say, like, how are you handling these things, or can you give me some advice on like how I should do this, or sharing your own experiences so that they can learn from that as well. That is the incredible value that I take away from Black Hat. Like I said, I like walking away going like, okay, I got a lot to do when I get out of here, and every single show I have that experience. So it's talking to smart people.
Networking is a big deal. I've been here 10 years, and I wouldn't be where I'm at in my career if it wasn't for networking with people here, DEF CON, and every other con that you go to.
Yeah, and I did a day zero talking about like things to do at Black Hat, and one of the things, like, so I am, despite my on-stage demeanor, I'm an introvert. Like, I'm what I term a high-functioning introvert, where I can get up and I can do these things, and I do that because I force myself to do it. It is not comfortable for me, but I understand that in this industry, if we're not talking to each other, then you're an island on your own, and that is certain death. So we have to do research, we have to share it with one another, and we have to have the tough conversations. And so this is like the best place to have those.
I got to go break down. All right.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.